been taught to look to the life we have in the world for the evidence of our sonship and daughterhood. Right. And what we don't realize is that will always tell us that we're orphans. Right. Exactly. Even if we become a giant in the earth and we build a great thing, man, that still doesn't possess the ability to persuade us that we're sons and daughters. Yeah. Right? It just can't. It can't. Because it didn't come from God. Only something that comes from God can persuade us that we're sons and daughters. Right. Only something that's been born from Him. Right? And I think that so many Christians labor and toil in their life and they don't know why. And the reason why is because they judge their life and they judge God by the depth that's in the world. Yes. That's what I was doing with God. Yeah. Here I was busting my rear end, running like a maniac so that I could, I convinced myself it was for God. So I could get these gold medals, and then that could be the platform for my ministry. And of course, the ministry would all be for God, and we could do these great things for God. Hallelujah. And when my foot was broken, man, that just caused me so much pain and suffering and made me think so much that I was separated from God, that I didn't have life, right? That I was an orphan, that I'd been forsaken. Where's God? Look at this thing I'm trying to do for God, and here I am. It's not even like I'm enjoying this thing. My wife is lonely because I got to run 30 miles a day. You ain't got no time for the wife after you run 30 miles a day and you work an 8-9 hour job. And so my wife is lonely. My foot's broken. It's not working out. Nothing is going well for me. It's not like I'm sucking on lollipops as I'm doing this thing for God. It's not like I'm one of the, we represent the lollipop king. It's not like I'm just having a joyous time, man. I mean, here I am busting my hump for God, and now I got this broken foot. And when that foot sat there broken, I was judging my life by that. Yes. And I was judging God by that. And that left me angry and bitter and feeling separated and forsaken by God. But I needed a new place to reason from. Right? And so many Christians, they don't realize that they're judging their life by what they have in the world. Yes. And then they're judging God by what they have in the world. Yeah. And then that leaves them feeling like an orphan and feeling like God sucks. Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't come through. Listen, if your heart thinks God doesn't come through, I don't care how bad you want to trust Him. You ain't. It ain't possible. And so that's why it's so powerful to see you're crucified with Christ. Because what happens when that thing is born in you is you stop judging your life by the life you see you have from the world. And you stop judging God and His faithfulness by the life you see in the world. Then you can start seeing Abba. Then you can start seeing you have life. Then you start seeing how your life conquers darkness. Now you start walking free from the power of sin and death, and you start experiencing the power of the resurrection. Yes. Right? Yes. In every situation. But I can't say it enough, man. So many Christians have been led into that place where they're judging the life they have by the life they have in the world right now. Right. And they're judging God. And they're trying, they actually want to believe God, but the wisdom they're using to try to believe God can never bring forth trust towards God. It can only bring forth doubt and confusion. Right. And then they labor for a while trying to get the life they have in the world to look good enough that maybe that life can convince them they can trust God, and then they'll be able to trust God. And then the more they try to work that, the more they'll find that life is corruptible, and the more they'll find that life telling them they can't trust God. And then they'll sit with the desire to trust God, but never be able to. And then that will even condemn them. And they'll feel like, I did everything I could to trust God. I did everything I could to get life right. And look where I'm at. And then they'll feel something in their heart where they'll be like, if we're just being honest, they want to give God the bird. And say, listen, man, I laid it all to the side for you. And look where I'm at. Listen, Jesus felt that. Right? You have to. And so it's the way we process that thing, man. Right. And God does it inside of us. And the way He does it inside of us is by what Paul said. When it pleased God to reveal His Son in me. Everything changed. I no longer tried to be justified through the life in the world. Brothers and sisters, man, we've been taught to try to be strengthened in the inner man through the life that's in the world. But when it pleased God to reveal His Son in us, we see that we're crucified to the life in the world. We've been divorced from it. We no longer reason from the life that's in the world when we think of our life. We no longer reason from the life that's in the world when we think about Abba and how Abba will be with us, or whether Abba has given us life. We don't reason from there anymore. And then that gives birth to the resurrection in us. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Do you guys see how this tries to come to us? Because it's this really wicked, like, I mean, if I was talking to just some college kids and they were raw, I could say some raw language that they'd enjoy. But it's like this wicked mind thing that screws us in our minds. Mm-hmm. We're created to desire life because we were only created for life.
Sure.
Now we're stuck in a world that's all the time telling us we don't have life. But if we can do these things, then we can get life. Then it tells us that, well, if we believe God, God will give us the life that's in the world. Right? And then we can use that life to believe that we have life, which is still the wrong way around it. So we're stuck in this wicked cycle in the world, right? If we try to find life from the world. But God hath raised us up from that wicked cycle by giving us a different place to reason from about our life.
Yes.
That's why it says Jesus is seated above every principality and power, every wisdom or system of having life. Right? So the system in the world says if you can have X, Y, Z, you have life. No. My life is seated above that system. Never to be underneath that system again. Right? And so the only way we can find salvation from this, guys, is if our hearts can be persuaded that the life we have, even though it's in an earthen vessel, isn't earthy. Mm-hmm. It isn't born from the earth.
Right.
And so unless we can see that, we're going to sit with the desire for life, and we're all the time going to think that we don't have it. That's what makes the heart sick. That's what Proverbs is talking about. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Well, I know we try to quote it all the time like, well, I hoped for a car and I didn't get a car and that made my life sick. No. That ain't what it's talking about. It's talking about life. The heart is designed to desire life. And if the heart thinks that it doesn't have life or it's separated from life, that heart will become sick. So God says, I got to do something because I created these beings to desire life and to have it. But they sit in a place where they're in a world that tells them they don't have it every day. And so I've got to do something to persuade them that the life they have, the life that I've offered them, isn't from the world. So that when they think of their life, they no longer look at the world. So their heart won't be made sick. Their hope won't be deferred. Their desire for life will be satisfied in seeing the life they've always desired has come true in Jesus. Yes. And then that will fill their hearts with the word of life. And then their hearts won't be made sick. And then the world can no longer come and tell them they don't have life. I hope that made some sense. I know I bounced all around, but that's the thing that ails human beings, man. Yes. Desiring life is good. That's good.
Yes.
But God's come to persuade you. He's given it to you already. It ain't up in the air. It's not weighing on the balance of the scales.
You don't have to lust for life.
Right. You don't go take all the good you have in the world and then go take all the bad things that have happened in the world and go stick it on a scale and see if the good can outweigh the bad. And then if the good can outweigh the bad, you say, I have life. You see that the bad, which is the death in the world, that was telling us we don't have life, was swallowed up in the resurrection.
Yes.
It was conquered. Jesus conquered death. That's for us.
Right.
So we can see death's been conquered, man.
Yes.
That means I have life.
Yes.
Right? In Jesus.
Yes. Yeah. Lisa, go ahead.